sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair would arise in you if they were to be executed, imprisoned, fined or censured. There are such people, Venerable Sir. But are there any people in Uruvela Kappa on whose account sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair would not arise in you in such an event? There are such people, Venerable Sir. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says, don't talk about suffering in the past or the future. We talk about suffering, the origin of suffering right now. The Buddha says, are there people, if they were executed or imprisoned, etc., you would feel suffering? And he says there are. You see, like if your family members, your close friends, they are imprisoned or executed, definitely you suffer. And then he asks, are there other people, if they were imprisoned and executed and all that, you will not feel anything? And he says, there are also. What headman is the cause and reason why in relation to some people in Uruvela Kappa, sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair would arise in you if they were to be executed, imprisoned, fined or censured, while in regard to others no such sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair would arise in you? And he said, those people in Uruvela Kappa, Venerable Sir, in relation to whom sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair would arise in me if they were to be executed, imprisoned, fined or censured. These are the ones for whom I have desire and attachment. But those people in Uruvela Kappa, in relation to whom no sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair would arise in me, these are the ones for whom I have no desire and attachment. And the Buddha said, headman, by means of this principle that is seen, understood, immediately attained, fathom, apply the method to the past and to the future thus. Whatever suffering arose in the past, all that arose rooted in desire, with desire as its source, with desire as the root of suffering. Whatever suffering will arise in the future, all that will arise rooted in desire, with desire as its source, for desire is the root of suffering. And he said, it is wonderful, Venerable Sir, it is amazing, Venerable Sir, how well that has been stated by the Blessed One. Whatever suffering arises, all that is rooted in desire, has desire as its source, for desire is the root of suffering. Let's stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says, just like these people, you say, if something happened to them, they are imprisoned or executed, you feel a lot of sorrow, and you say it's because of desire for them, attachment to them. So in the same way, the Buddha said, you should realize that whatever suffering in the past, that also arose for the same reason, because you have desire and attachment for them. And similarly, in the future, if you suffer at all, it's also because of your desire and attachment for some people. And then this Bhadraka said, Venerable Sir, I have a boy named Chiravasi who stays at an outside residence. I rise early and send a man saying, go man and find out how Chiravasi is. Until that man returns, Venerable Sir, I am upset, thinking, I hope Chiravasi has not met with any affliction. Let's stop here for a moment. So this headman, he has a son, and he puts him somewhere else to stay somewhere else. Maybe he thinks if some bandits or the king decides to execute him, at least the son is not with him, will be safe. He put the son far away in some safe place. So every morning he sends a man to go and find out whether the son is all right. And the Buddha said, what do you think, headman? If Chiravasi were to be executed, imprisoned, fined or censured, would sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair arise in you? And he said, Venerable Sir, if Chiravasi were to be executed, imprisoned, fined or censured, even my life would be upset. So how could sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair not arise in me? So he's saying, if something happened to his son, his whole life he would be upset. Then the Buddha said, in this way too, head man, it can be understood. Whatever suffering arises, all that arises rooted in desire, with desire as its source, for desire is the root of suffering. What do you think, head man? Before you saw Chiravasi's mother or heard about her, did you have any desire, attachment or affection for her? No, venerable sir. Then was it, head man, because of seeing her or hearing about her, that this desire, attachment and affection arose in you? Yes, venerable sir. What do you think, head man? If Chiravasi's mother were to be executed, imprisoned, fined or censured, would sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair arise in you? And he said, venerable sir, if Chiravasi's mother were to be executed, imprisoned, fined or censured, even my life would be upset. So how could sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair not arise in me? And the Buddha said, in this way too, head man, it can be understood. Whatever suffering arises, all that arises rooted in desire, with desire as its source, for desire is the root of suffering. That's the end of the sutta. So you see, the Buddha says, all suffering arises because of desire, because of attachment. There's one sutta where the Buddha said this, and somebody was not happy. He said, he has a lot of desire for his son or his daughter. So he thinks the son or the daughter gives him a lot of happiness. But he doesn't realize when something happens to the son or the daughter, then that extreme happiness turns to extreme pain and suffering. So this happiness and suffering are just two sides of our hand, two sides of a coin. They come together. If you have happiness, you must have suffering. So if you do away with happiness, then only you do away with suffering. And that's the path, that's the holy path. If you don't want suffering, then you don't want enjoyment, you don't want happiness also. So you see this part, the Buddha asked him, before you saw Chiravasi's mother or heard about her, did you have any desire, attachment or affection for her? He said, no, venerable sir. And this is interesting because a lot of us, we chase after things, and the things we chase after, we think they give us a lot of happiness. But later when something happens because of impermanence, they are the very things that give us suffering. So in this world, if you didn't chase after so many things, you don't have so many things, then you won't suffer so much. Okay, I think for this Samyutta, that's enough, because the next two suttas here are extremely long, but not much Dhamma in them. So we come to the next chapter, chapter 43. Asankhata, Samyutta. Asankhata means unconditioned. Sankhata means conditioned things. So Asankhata is unconditioned, and unconditioned always refers to Nibbana, state of Nibbana. Things in the world are all conditioned. That means there is birth or arising, and then there is then after it arises, then it stays for a while. Then after that, it starts to deteriorate. Then after that, it ceases or dies. But the unconditioned, there is no birth, there's no change, and there's no cessation, death. The first sutta, 43.1, at Savatthi, the Buddha said, monks, I will teach you the unconditioned and the path leading to the unconditioned. Listen to that. And what monks is the unconditioned? The destruction of lust, the destruction of hatred, the destruction of delusion. This is called the unconditioned. For Nibbana also the same. When a person attains Nibbana, there is destruction of lust, hatred and delusion. And what monks is the path leading to the unconditioned? Mindfulness directed to the body. This is called the path leading to the unconditioned. Thus monks, I have taught you the unconditioned and the path leading to the unconditioned. Whatever should be done, monks, by a compassionate teacher out of compassion for his disciples, desiring their welfare, that I have done for you. These are the feet of trees, monks. These are empty huts or kutis. Meditate, monks. Do not be negligent, lest you regret it later. This is our instruction to you. It's the end of the sutta. So the Buddha says, the path to the unconditioned is mindfulness directed to the body. This body can be our human body, but it can be something else. Like the Buddha says, the breath is also considered a body. So any form that you put attention on, you meditate on that form, that will bring you to the form jhana, that can be considered body. Because when we meditate, our aim is to attain the rupa jhanas first, and if possible the arupa jhanas. So why I say this? Because in the Majjhima Nikaya Suttas, Venerable Ananda said the type of meditation praised by the Buddha is the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana. So it means that Buddhist meditation is the first jhana, second, third, fourth jhana. So the aim of meditation is to attain these four jhanas. Now to attain these four jhanas, these four jhanas are also called rupa jhanas. And rupa jhanas, to attain rupa jhana, you have to meditate on rupa. Rupa is a form. So it can be this body, it can be out of this body also. If you meditate on the form, they will bring you to the form jhana. So here the Buddha says, mindfulness directed to the body. That means to one object. Remember we went through one sutta where we talk about the unrestrained mind. The simile of the 6 animals that were allowed to go in 6 different directions. Then the Buddha says, to tame them, you have to tie them to a stout post or pillar. So that stout post or pillar represents one object of meditation. We meditate only on one object. If our mind strays away, we pull it back to that one object. That one object can be the breath, or it can be any other object, any other form. So here is mindfulness directed to the body. So the Buddha says, meditate, monks. This word meditate here in Pali is jayata. Jayata, you can consider it also to cultivate jhana. Cultivate jhana, monks. Do not be negligent. The next sutta is 43.2. The Buddha said, monks, I will teach you the unconditioned and the path leading to the unconditioned. Listen to that. And what monks is the unconditioned? The destruction of lust, the destruction of hatred, the destruction of delusion. This is called the unconditioned. And what monks is the path leading to the unconditioned? Samatha and vipassana. This is called the path leading to the unconditioned. Well, that's the end of the sutta. So to attain the unconditioned nibbana, 2 things are necessary: samatha and vipassana. It's just like nowadays, with the commentaries have misled people to believe that vipassana alone is enough for liberation. This totally contradicts the Buddha's word. The Buddha says here, both samatha and vipassana are necessary. And several other suttas, the Buddha also mentioned this. The Buddha also mentioned that when you cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path totally, then samatha and vipassana will be led to work together in you. So, what is samatha? Samatha is meditation. Meditation meaning cultivation of calmness, tranquility until you attain perfect samadhi.